What up, players? It's Warboss Tail up in this mud. Peekaboo, I see you. This is part 1 of my 2-part video, how to paint Inspector Gadget here for the Empire Army. He's got this crazy thing on his hat. He's got this big telescope. He could also have a Hawkland long rifle, but I decided he's gonna have this telescope instead. This is how far we get base coats and washes, so stay tuned. Hope you guys like it. We'll see you in the next one. Alright, so take 2. I made an earlier part of this video where I got up to this point, but I had to erase it because it had a lot of barking in the background. So let me just show you what I did, and you can work your way up there. First thing I did was I painted chainmail onto the telescope and all the silver parts. So I painted the stand, the handle, the cannonball down here. I started painting the base work, but most of these are going to be the molded tools on the base, so disorganized, are going to be silver as well. And he's wearing a breastplate underneath his leather coat, so I painted that in chainmail as well. And also this little portable magnification tool he's wearing on his hat. Then what I did next was I painted the black of his uniform on the inside of his coat. I used Chaos Black because I still have, a couple pots of this, but the new Abaddon Black is just as good. And I painted the poofy sleeves, this part of his uniform by his arms, where it cinches by the wrist, as well as the trousers to signify Nuln. And then I painted Khemri Brown onto the coat. Khemri Brown is a nice, soft brown color, and it's got a little bit of that Den of Stone bleached bone kind of lightness to it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to paint the boots, and the boots as well as the strap around his back. So I'm going to be using Calthan Brown for this, and yeah, going right onto his boots here. And I'm also trying to figure out what kind of accent color I want for him, since he's going to be back with my cannon crew and painted up as an engineer of Nuln. Most of the uniforms and heraldry models that show this guy have him, or not this guy, but Nuln uniforms, depict them with the majority black uniform, like this guy, and then flashes and slashes of color. So probably paint some red slashes in his sleeves. Let's maybe see if I can do some other accents in other places, but overall, very plain looking figure. So the decision to go with Nuln for this one was purely based on the fluff, because Nuln is where all the artillery in the Empire come from. It's got the Imperial Gunnery School. It says in the fluff, according to the fluff, there's an engineer school in Altdorf, so I could have painted this guy up in Altdorf colors, but I think by then, since Altdorf is right at the beginning of the alphabet, I'd already painted up a swordsman in the red and blue of Altdorf. So you could go with that color scheme instead. If you want to go back to my how to paint an Altdorf swordsman, that is totally viable as well. But I decided the second best thing, because there's only 2, I think, Imperial Colleges of Engineering in the game. One of them is in Altdorf, and the other is in Nuln, so I thought, oh, it's perfect, since we're on the Nuln color scheme. So yeah, as you can see, I ripped off the pistols and I green stuffed a belt for this guy, a strap, for him to be wearing. So that looks like that. And we're also going to be painting the cap that he's wearing in this Calthan Brown color as well. His little Inspector Gadget cap. Yeah, look at all these crazy contraptions he's got. I don't even know what this thing in the middle is supposed to be. This thing on the right looks like it's supposed to be a candle, or lighting his work when he's working long into the night. Kind of wish they had a little bit more of a steampunk aesthetic, but that might be because because that might be where they're thinking of taking the dwarfs when they re-release the dwarfs. So I forget that. More steampunk is just the way to go, I think. Although I would love to see some dwarves on bears. That would be cool. Okay, so that's just about all that we need to do for that. What we're gonna do is now we're gonna paint his flesh color, his skin tones. So I'm gonna be using Nuln Flesh, which is perfect for humans of the Empire. It's light, goes on smooth, it's pink. I'm not sure what the new base color for the range is. I have a little bit more Nuln Flesh left in this pot before I have to buy a new flesh base coat. So I'm just gonna keep using it until it's all gone. We are just whipping through this guy today. I kind of want to get him done if I can in one video. That would be great. Yeah, that soft skin tone right there, look how it just pops out really nicely from the black of the sleeve. As with any model, you're just going to need to do some fancy positioning to get the tip of your paintbrush around, unless you haven't glued this piece together and you're kind of doing it in sub-assemblies, which I might have thought about as an option, but I didn't, so oh well. It might make it easier for you to paint though if you're not used to this kind of close work where you have to work around other things. Don't worry if you get any on his hat. I think it's more important that we get the colors onto his face, and then if we make any mistakes we can fix them up later. So there you can see his skin is just about all painted up now. So we're gonna let that dry for a bit and move on to the reds of the sleeves, and we're gonna use the Fiston Red, which is a base color, and we're gonna paint it directly into the slashes of the sleeve. A lot of reds lately. My Knight of the White Wolf guy was like all red. So you just want to kind of quickly get your paint in there, and don't worry if you make a mistake or if it bleeds out to other areas of the model. You can just fix that later. There, very good. The model at this point should look something like that. We're also going to paint the cloth hanging from the back of his sword, from his scabbard, in red as well. I might not get to the top. I painted, I had to super glue the edge of the scabbard because it was starting to snap off. So I'm afraid the glue might still be a little bit damp. So I'll come back later while this video, maybe like in the morning, give it some hours to dry, and then I'll come back and glue the rest of it. Now you can still see it's kind of shiny at the top. Can we do anything else? Yep, I'm only at 9 minutes, so we can do a little bit more. So I'm gonna take my base coat of Balthazar Gold, and I'm gonna paint the sword hilt. Yeah, this Balthazar gold is very much like the old dwarf bronze color. But it's just fantastic. It goes on. It doesn't split. The pigment doesn't separate. It's really, really good. We might as well also, at this time, paint different parts of his telescope. Like the twin-tailed skull comet here. The front here. Yeah, back in the old days, if you tried to do straight like shining gold onto silver, it would have just not come out very well. Go a little bit further. Paint. I'm really looking for just any gold accents, leaving the majority of telescope in silver. Like this, whatever this design is, looks like a skull or a moon or something. We can paint that. We can paint the joins over here to match the opposite side. Okay, and here we are. Let me show you what he looks like up till now. We have to paint in his hair, some of the crazy gadgets up here on his head. Let's do that now. His little Inspector Gadget stuff. We'll paint in Balthazar gold the little extensions and the little plate here for the candle. Paint the actual candle in a bit, and we'll also paint this little apparatus thing on his head. So I'm gonna let this all dry, come back in just a bit, and then we'll continue. Okay, there were some things that I changed after taking a look at the GW website, and let me changed actually since you last saw me like 10 seconds ago, and let me show them to you. I colored this in Balthazar gold, this right over here. I actually repainted the base of the candle holder to chainmail, and then I painted this cap has like this gold binding, so I painted that Balthazar gold. And what else did I do? Did I change anything else? I think that might be it. There were some things up here on the hat. Oh yeah, this we need to repaint, this little constellation thing, whatever the heck that is. And then I waited for the sword to dry, and then I painted the little cloth down here in red, Mephiston red. So now we're gonna add Balthazar gold a little bit more to the bottom of the sword. Right over, yeah. Then we are going to add either Chaos Black or Abaddon Black to the hilt. Not the hilt, but the scabbard. The scabbard. Okay, while you've got that black on your brush, you might also want to take a look at your uniform. Make sure that you've painted in all of the slashes correctly. If there's any Mephiston red where it's not supposed to be, now that the paint is dry, you can really go in and kind of clean it up a little bit. I love the fluff, being that the uniforms are predominantly black to hide all the soot stains from all of the firing the guns of Nuln. Alright. So now there's another thing we're going to paint gold, and that is the little emblem on this guy's right shoulder. So we're just going to take our Balthazar gold. Balthazar gold. Tricky Games Workshop, what a clever pun. No idea what this is supposed to be. It looks kind of like a demogryph with a mohawk. Weird hair, if that's the beak and here's the hair. Okay, so there is that. Next thing we're going to paint is the beard and the hair, and we're going to use Citadel base color Celestra Gray. It's the new hotness in white beards. I'm painting like right under here, the back of the cap. Then you're gonna have to get your guy in at an angle in order to get the beard. Just keep turning your model. Find different ways to turn it and angle it so that you can reach all the places you have to be. So sad, I heard on the radio coming home that the author of the children's book Where the Wild Things Are passed away today. And that just made me remember how much I loved that book. Didn't really care for the movie. We're also going to be painting this guy's eyebrows. The reason I brought it up was because I'm kind of painting this guy up as like an older gentleman, and the author was getting up there in years when he passed away. But such a great writer, such great children's books. If you made any mistakes, now's the time to go back, fix them. And after this, we're going to get into washes. And it made a little boo-boo with his some parts now that I'm painting at a different angle. I'm seeing where I messed up in the first part of the video, parts that I missed or went over. Whew. Painting his lower lip once you've already glued this thing together is not fun. Like here at the back of his neck. There. So pretty much all of his base coats are down the way we want them. We are going to be... We did miss... What did we miss? His helmet thing. Or his his globes up there. Looks like one of them is gold and the other is green. And the main constellation is red. So... Okay, so we'll do that, and then also the tip of his little spyglass there is blue. So why don't we get started with the blue, since that's the most obvious thing. We're going to use Calidor Sky as a base for this. Boop. Sorry, I'm also looking at the Games Workshop website at the same time while I'm filming this, so yeah. So we're just going to paint Calidor Sky over the front of the spyglass. As so. And give that a second to dry while we're working on the planets. The center one, we're going to use Dark Flesh, or whatever the current equivalent of Dark Flesh is. That's probably the next color on my list that I have to get. Did you guys see that the movie Where the Wild Things Are? I love the book, but I didn't really care for the movie. I think it's because the main monster, I forget his name, but the main big monster dude was voiced by James Gandolfini from The Sopranos. I kept expecting him to go into some kind of swearing rant, like, "You little mother effing kid! Ah! I'm gonna rip your effing head off! Come here, you little kid!" Talking like in his James Gandolfini voice. Okay. For the constellations around his head, we're going to use Flesh for the one in the one that looks like almost parallel. Over here. As sure. And then for the other one, for this yellow, we're going to use, where's my Averland yellow? Averland Sunset. So Nuln isn't a grand province like all of the other videos that I've done up to this point. It's just one big city. Kind of like Altdorf is like one big city. Altdorf is part of the Reikland, and Nuln is a part of, I believe it's Wissenland. Wissenland? But yeah, but it's got its own standing army. It's it's a great army fluff-wise if you want, an army that's reliant on modern technology and all of the things that comes up with. I'm gonna layer with Techless Blue for the spyglass, like cannons and Hellstorm rockets and Hellblaster volley guns, the things that modern technology is introducing. Calidor Sky, Techless Blue, the new Ice Blue, which is Lothern Blue. So I just kind of rimmed in blues, and now we're going to go up to Skull White or Ceramite White. create that reflective kind of illusion. Now, optionally, you could take a blue shade, like this Drakenhof Nightshade, paint it over the glass, and then redo the white highlight. So let me show you what that looks like. Here's without doing that. This is just using the blues and the white. When you add the wash, though, it darkens darker areas, gives it a deeper tone to it, ties in the colors a little bit, and makes the whole thing look a little bit more rounded. Last thing you're gonna do is Igor, yes, master. Can you find me my gloss varnish, please? Here you are, master. Thank you. So we're just gonna paint the front of the spyglass with our gloss varnish. And that's what's gonna really make it look like glass from far away, because it's going to have a nice little twinkle to it. Okay, so now let's get to work on the rest of the shades, shall we? First, I'm going to use some Agrax Earth shade, great brown shade. I love it. You love it. Fantastic. And we're going to shade his coat. Focus. Continuing with the Agrax Earth shade, we're going to paint the strap on his back, sleeves, the front, and even the gold emblem on his sleeve. Get it all on there. When you're done with the coat, we're going to get on to the boots. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your Agrax Earth shade, carefully shade his helmet. It's not really a helmet, it's like his Inspector Gadget hat. Go, Gadget, go! Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. What was the cartoon that they showed with that? With a cat? Wasn't there like a cat in like a junkyard? What's that guy called? I don't remember. Not Garfield. Uh-oh. Yeah, so look at that. I let some wash kind of dry, or shade dry, and then it left this watermark when I tried painting out of it. So that's a problem. So just be careful with your washes. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add Nuln oil to the folds. Try and darken it down just a little bit so we don't just have black. I'm actually going to be wiping, as you can see, I'm painting it over the whole coat, but I'm really trying to get it to stick in the shades. Okay, and then what we're doing is keeping it in there in the folds, getting it down into the folds, mixing with that black color, or with the brown color of the Agrax Earth shade, and creating a color that is neither Nuln oil nor Agrax Earth shade, but something altogether completely different. Nulngrax Earth shade oil. Like a mix of both, right? We're gonna paint that on all of the Khemri brown areas. Just don't want it to pool. And then we're gonna go on the sleeves, the boots, everything we're gonna paint in this like combi shade. Okay, you're also gonna take your Nuln oil and you're gonna paint it on the telescope here in the front, as well as the cannonball he's standing on. Just kind of dunk everything in this oily color. And that's where we're gonna let it dry. Okay. You don't want to put too much on it because Nuln oil is really dark and can really darken your colors too much. So you just want to put enough to get a good shade on most of these metallics. Here, the one on the helmet, the hat, and the last shade. Oh, also, I totally forgot. We're gonna put Nuln oil as well on his beard to give it some darkness and definition, and the chest plate, or the breastplate that he's wearing, the armor he's wearing underneath his coat. So get down underneath. Let's see if you can see what I'm doing. I went underneath to get the beard, and I went over the top to get the mustache, and then just kind of go right under where the helmet or the little cap is, in the front and the back, to get that Nuln oil down onto the hair. And the last shade we're gonna do before I cut this video and let all that dry and get ready for part 2 is Logan Flesh for the flesh color, or Rakelin flesh wash or shade, whatever you call it. And like I said, as you can see, there's only 3 areas for shading: the hands and the face. Both hands and the face. And even with the face, with his beard being as long as it is, we're just kind of shading his eyes and his cheeks. So, oh yeah, don't forget the back of the coat. So this is what our guy looks like at this point. I'm gonna cut the video now, let all this dry off, and then we'll come back in part 2 to do the highlighting, work on the details, and finish off. In fact, there's one more thing we can do now that I'm looking at it, and that's using Carroburg Crimson to paint the reds in the sleeves, give them a nice, interesting hue and shade. So Carroburg Crimson, which looks like this, almost like Leviathan purple, has a very dark, rich color. So that's kind of what it looks like when it goes on. We're gonna paint all the red areas. So all the slashes in the sleeves. So they look like this. Alright, we're gonna let this dry, come right back, and stay tuned for part 2.